Great. Well, let me just start by saying thank you so much for the opportunity to present our technology and really mostly our way of thinking about legislative drafting in a modern age. And before I get to the demo, though, I wanted to give a quick sketch of our company, who we are, what we do, and how we got here. And so the presentation really is about digital first or data first legislative drafting. Xcential has been a leader in this field since the early 2000s. And we have a company that has always focused in the narrow space of, in the lawmaking process, of what happens to the document, what happens to the legislative document, the instrument to change the law, the life cycle of that document, and what it goes through. And our approach has always been to think about the document as data, which has brought us to become a world leader in providing legislative drafting and amending technologies that are based on open data standards, the Comatoso standard, working with XML. In doing that, we think we meet our mission of trying to deliver greater accuracy, efficiency, and transparency to lawmakers around the world. We have been working around the world for a number of years, as far away as Hong Kong many years ago, and then here in this building with the U.S. House of Representatives. We do work for the House, the Government Publishing Office, and we have been working with U.S. states as well. We currently have a large project, excuse me, with the Oregon legislature to replace a 45-year-old IBM mainframe system, which is a common challenge of replacing very old legacy systems. Our approach, kind of the center of our approach, is to implement a product, and that product is an XML editor, but it is one that is designed to recognize that lawmaking today often is done with word processing. And so lawyers, legislative and parliamentary counsel are used to working on the familiar word screen. The easy things about using a word processor, word perfect. So we try to make working with a powerful tool like LegisPro or an XML editor a more pleasant experience. So you're not having to insert codes or things like that. It's a familiar screen. The application is web-based. It can be deployed to desktop or fully online. And it can be customized to meet local rules, requirements, which are always so different from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. And we say it's an application that is friendly on the outside, excuse me, but on the inside, it is a powerful data tool. We work directly with XML. It's a native XML editor. So as the drafter works in the structured format, you are creating automatically the encoded XML, which opens massive opportunities for greater accuracy, automation, and also opening up the opportunity for other applications to be built around this core structured data. So we work with structured data, and when we come into implementations along with IBM mainframes, often we find the issue of Word, Microsoft Word, which we call the word problem. It is, very attractive to work with a word processor. It seems very easy, but on the inside, if you want to do more with the data, you're confronted with data that is really designed for appearance. It's designed for rendering what you're doing on a page. Make a beautiful printed paper or PDF. The XML that is inside of Word is all about the styling. You notice on the right, the references to fonts, indents, and so forth. And it's not about the information. And so that can become a real blocker to transformational efforts to digitize a process, which then brings us to XML. We believe in really doing whatever we can to bring XML and this open data standard upstream into the legislative process because it enables so much downstream. So we work with the fully modern open standards. You can see the coding there is human readable, and it's all in a standard structure. It's not talking about fonts or things about appearance. It's talking about the information, tagging the information, ways that can enable greater search. It surfaces information will become interoperable with other data sets. And it's really quite remarkable what can happen in contrast to working with Word. Our application is now in use in multiple jurisdictions. One place right here in this structure. It's used by the U.S. Law Revision Council for updating the U.S. Code. And you can see this application has been customized to meet specifically that jurisdiction's needs. Now, what we are going to talk about today and what I'm going to give a very brief demonstration of is a new application we've created. It's kind of a light version of our heavy-duty tool that's designed for large national and state governments. We think there are opportunities and needs for smaller governments to have an opportunity to move toward a data and digital first approach, get away from Word and other legacy technologies, but have implementations that are not as lengthy. The Oregon project we're working on, I mentioned, is a 4 or 5 year project. We've been working with the House for many years, and those are very large and costly operations. The idea here is to offer and provide smaller governments a SaaS-based tool, one that can be deployed quickly and efficiently, but also offer the kind of precision that any drafting operation needs. So with that, I'm going to make an effort here to. So since I have learned through difficult history not to give live demonstrations of a data tool, you're going to see a screencast. And what this tool will show is a very simple process of amending the law. And here is an example of where the way this tool works is that we have preloaded into the data, into the editor, the database of laws that exist for a jurisdiction. And then we have created templates that are typical for that jurisdiction to use for amending local ordinances, as they're called here in the US, local laws. And so we have a set of templates, and the tool is driven by the templates that get created ahead of time. And on the right side, you'll see this is work that someone has been doing on a current chapter, but now we're going to do some amending. So first, the user is going to select a template, open up the template, and then begin to work. We've made an imaginary city called the city of Townsville. And you can see the template to amend an existing law. You can see the screen. There's typical options you might see in a word processor. Now here someone is filling in the cover page, giving information about the document they're creating. I'll speed it up a little bit here. Putting in metadata into the fields that can be accessed later. Integrated with any kind of workflow system that's in place. Now with this done, the user can get to work on creating the document. And so they're filling in, again, some of the metadata. I'm going to amend a local law. Now, this is a structured document editor. And just like the law has structure to it, chapters, titles, subparagraphs, etc., what is created here is a document model that reflects that structure. And so the user here is going to search the database and come up with a law that they would like to amend. And so they grab the city of Townsville's local laws, and they search through to find the law that they would like to amend. They're going to amend the local noise ordinance. When they've searched and they've found the law they'd like to amend, they're going to amend the laws about parties. So they drag and drop that law, that provision, into the editor. You can see the citation is created automatically. And now they can just basically do track changes for the law and start to make the changes they need to make. And they'll make them as though you're working in a word processor. And so they can proceed along, make all of the changes they'd like to make. This is a very simple example, obviously, the greater complexities. But we think for local, smaller governments, this can often be a perfectly adequate tool. And now they've completed the first draft of that ordinance. So let me stop here and move to another example. pardon me while I load another one up. Reshare. So Luis, are you seeing the screencast again? They are.
Yeah,
Great. All right, so let me show you some of the really even more powerful attributes of the application. And again, we're back on the screen. There's an ordinance that's been created. Here on the left are the laws that the user has chosen to amend. I meant to mention in the lower left here, you can see there is a viewer where you can pull up laws to examine them and make sure you've called up the right law. Now this user is going to take those changes and generate, in some jurisdictions, not all, some jurisdictions, there will be a need for an amending document to be created out of these changes. And you can see the changes that have been made highlighted in colors. And now we're going to automatically generate the instruction document. Page and line numbers are in place. And they can automatically create this document that if that jurisdiction needs the changes enumerated here, that document is created automatically. This can be a very big time saver for some jurisdictions where often they work in a reverse order, create these instructions and then engross them into the legislation. This flips that and allows you to do this using automation that's enabled by starting with a data first approach. And you can see it's created a new screen. So you can go back and forth and see your changes you've made. Now we can take this example a little further. And often, of course, there will be different versions of a document. There might be new sets of amendments to make, or different users who are making other changes. We have a technology we call change set management. And in effect, it's like track changes, but on steroids. We're able to basically organize your changes, have multiple sets of changes. And I'll let the screencast run a bit. So a user can make a new set of amendments, say amendment 1, and then they can go in and start to make other changes to the document. They're colored differently, so you can tell that this is another set of changes. We came up with this really through seeing what our users, and you can notice you can layer changes on top of the changes. We know that in so many jurisdictions, there are still colored pencils being used to do these kinds of changes, or different ways to indicate that there are multiple amendments to a document or multiple users making changes. In this way, we've automated so much of that process now too. You can have an unlimited set of these changes. And there's lots of different configurations we can do to make these even more powerful. Notice too that as the amendments are being made to this document, the page and line numbers, which are so important for some jurisdictions, hold so that it doesn't lose track of the first version and what the line number was that's being changed. So then the user can, again, continue to layer on changes. And you also have the power to generate those amendments I showed before. First, you have to save the document. And then the user can generate another set of amendments, but you can do this by the specific change sets. And so you can generate amendments from Amendment 1 or Amendment 2, etc. And then one final step I wanted to show in the process is what to do with this document, particularly for smaller jurisdictions where there may not be a workflow tool, and they may need to just simply share, say, a PDF or a Word file. Here's you seeing again, Vera.
Yes, we can see it.
So now we have this document that we've created, and we need to create a PDF. And it is basically as simple as click create PDF. And it's created that PDF. And that PDF can be shared or plugged into the workflow management tool, moved around the office, etc. So it's simply, it renders it very cleanly. So that's a very, very quick demonstration of this tool. We have been beta testing it with our local governments in the US, getting some very interesting and good reactions to this. One of the key things that this tool does is it puts everything in one place. We found that for smaller governments, often where it's understaffed and people have very big challenges just doing all of their work, that there can be a lot of just accidental disorganization where paper moves around, or you're not sure which version or who is storing this version of a law on that hard drive. And this is a place where you can, because it's web-based, you can have it all be in one spot and track your versions, track what is happening in the status of that piece of legislation. So it can be a very important tool. So Luis, that's the quick show.